I need to begin with a paradox that has haunted me since I decided to start this show. To podcast, to create, to offer your voice into the world, you must believe with some conviction that you have something worth saying. You must override your humility. You must act as though your perspective, your lived experience, your way of seeing the world matters. You must believe that you alone have something great to offer. But here's where it gets interesting. That belief itself can become a lie if you're not careful. Because humility isn't just something you say. It's not a verbal performance. It is embodied. It is the embodied spirit of who we are. It's in how you hold space for uncertainty, for being wrong, for the possibility that your truth is only your truth and not the truth. And that's a completely different animal than the words coming out of your mouth. I can stand here and tell you that I'm humble. I can speak about the limits of my knowledge, about how I don't understand. I can perform humility verbally. But if my body language broadcasts certainty, if my tone suggests I have all the answers, if I'm not genuinely open to being challenged or transformed by the conversation, then I'm a liar. Now, I may be a humble liar, but I'm a liar nonetheless. So here's what I'm wrestling with as I begin this show. How do I speak with authority about things I've learned through a life of extraordinary difficulty without letting that authority calcify into dogma? How do I offer my gifts, my questions, my insights, my hard-won wisdom while remaining genuinely humble about how much I still don't know? How do I believe in myself enough to do this while staying small enough to learn? That's the podcaster's paradox of humility. And it's not a problem to solve. It's a tension to live in. It's the space where real creation happens. As an artist, as a creator, as anyone brave enough to put their work into the world, you face this same paradox. You have to override your humility to succeed, and you have to maintain your humility to remain truthful. Both things are true, and both things are necessary, and they will never stop being in conversation with each other. That's what we're exploring here on Talking to Horses. Not answers, but the courage to ask better questions and the humility to let these questions change us. Let's get going. Welcome to Talking to Horses, the podcast. I am your host, Jay Subkowich, and this is the teaser trailer. I will reserve episode 1 for a guest, but I wanted to hop on here and talk about this paradox because it's something that has really bothered me. And I'm not claiming that I am some supreme humble being, but I will say with certainty that I have struggled to be in front of a camera and to hear myself and to think with some conviction that what I have to say really matters and is really worthwhile. Now, I have had a lot of people in the past say that what I have to say has affected them in a positive way. And I've taken that to heart, and I really have. But at the same time, it's also kind of dialed up the volume on my ego. And that's the tension that I'm talking about between humility and creativity. If creativity is a well inside us that wants to burst forth, then I think humility is the cap that keeps it bottled up. And I think maybe humility is the thing that stymies artists from truly reaching their potential. Built into humility is this fear, a fear of being rejected by the public, a fear that what you actually have to say or what you actually want to paint or what you want to create is garbage, is no good for anybody. And that fear can lead to the repression of your true creativity. So when we turn on the mic and we turn on the camera, are we actually acting within humility? Or are we acting in a different space? And this is what I believe. I believe that the tension between ego and humility has to be there. And within that tension is the creative spirit. And so, like dials on an equalizer, we have to turn humility down in order to turn ego up. Because to sit here and speak to you and offer any sort of wisdom is for me to believe that what I have to say truly matters. And therein lies the rub. Therein lies the paradox. Because I have to believe that what I'm saying matters. You, the artist, the creator, the writer, the poet, the musician, you have to believe that what you're doing is something important to the world. And I think it has to go one step farther. I think you have to believe that what you're doing is good for you. And here is why I am at Talking to Horses again. I have tried and failed multiple times to get a podcast going. Those of you that know me will know that I have done this. I have had several attempts. I have left social media on a few occasions, but I am haunted by this. I can't stop thinking about it. Everybody has a creative spirit. Everybody has an outlet, something that they are good at, something that they can do that is within the creative realm, something in that subliminal space between the everyday mundane part of your life and the thing within your mind that wants to burst forth and share. And for me, it is my voice and my writing. And for me, it is this outlet that makes me feel most at home. But at the same time, oh my gosh, does it drive me crazy with anxiety? And that's the tension between ego and humility. And I'll admit something to you honestly. I'll admit something that I don't like to admit. Last year, when I walked away from podcasting and I walked away from social media altogether, it was a couple of things. It was a bit of a complex thing, but it was a multi-part problem. On the one hand, I did have a lot of problems in my life that were coming up, including the loss of my house. So I didn't have a podcasting studio. And I tried to podcast from an outdoor kitchen. And when a chicken jumped onto my camera and knocked my computer over during a live recording, I decided that I needed to take a break and reevaluate how I was going to podcast in the future. But the real true emotional part of that was really bothering me was that I really started to like the attention I was getting. And that actually scared me because for the first time ever, I noticed a part of my ego that I didn't have control of. And truly, it was frightening. I didn't say anything to anybody, but I'll tell you, there was this little thing in the heart, this little thing in my spirit that got excited every time I turned on Instagram or YouTube. Every time I watched my own episode back or guest appeared on another podcast and then aired it live or aired it onto Instagram and shared in the little shorts, there was something that was really exciting to me. And every time it happened, I felt my ego just notching up a little bit and I felt my pride swelling just a little bit. And what I didn't realize was I was lacking the control to quell this with my humility. And so both consciously and unconsciously, I walked away from everything. But it sat inside me and festered because I have a creative spirit. And though that doesn't mean anything to the 9 billion of us that are out here in the world, to me, I have a creative spirit. My creative spirit is writing and speaking to people. And the truth is, I do believe that I have something to offer. Whether my gift is going to reach one person or 1 million people, I don't know. But in order for me to admit this on camera to all of you, whoever you happen to be, I have had to suspend my humility and say out loud with some confidence that this is where I'm at. And so in this little teaser trailer, I'm just explaining to you how I feel about the podcasting arena. In fact, more generally, I do believe that all artists and all creators do this. They suspend their humility while they are creating. And this is what I think we need to do as artists and as creators. We need to use the tools of our mind, of our higher thinking mind, in order to create. And so you have to kind of dial up your ego and your pride a little bit when you're standing in front of a camera or on the stage with an audience or selling your paintings or recording your music. You got to turn up your ego just a little bit so that you have some fuel for that creativity. Because if all you are is humble, you'll just cap your creativity and it'll never come out of the bottle. And so the podcaster's paradox of humility is that if you claim you're a humble person and you turn the camera on, you've suspended your humility. And if you claim out loud on your, I don't know, I was going to say soapbox, but it's so cliche. So whatever, I said it. If you're standing on your soapbox I said it because I couldn't think of anything else that was good right now. If you're standing on your soapbox and you're claiming that you are a humble person, you've automatically poisoned your own waters. And this ancient idea, the liar's paradox of humility, which I kind of ripped on to make this first episode, speaks to that very thing. That to admit out loud that you are humble is to muddy the waters of your own humility. So welcome to Talking to Horses, the podcast. I am your host, Jay Subkwich. And I don't think that we need to be humble. I think that we need to be true. I think that if you have humility, you use it inside you without having to exercise it publicly or verbally. And I think that you have to keep the tension between humility and ego in order for you to be creative. And I think that if you want your creativity to really pour forth, you got to shut your ego off. Not forever, just for a short time, so that you can stay in that beautiful subliminal flow state, so that you can ramp up how you feel creatively until you're done. And then what you do is you turn the volume back down. You don't sit with your pride forever. Pride is volatile and dangerous and poisonous. Pride is like the athlete who can't forget what it felt like while he was enjoying his success. And now he lives in the sickening burden of his past, incapable of moving forward because he's caught in what he used to be. And that's the danger of pride. Pride should be fleeting and short term. But then you have to shut pride off in order to move to the next thing. And when you're a podcaster or you're a musician or a creator in any way, you've got to use these tools and you've got to use them wisely. And so I say to everybody out there who is a creative person, who wants to exercise that artistic something in them, don't get rid of your pride. Just turn it down for a little while and be who you are. Be true and be real. And if you are truly a humble person, turn it back up and go about your day. And you don't have to tell people that you're humble. You don't have to exercise humility in a speech on a stage. You have to live within it. And I think to live within it is to understand that your humility will get in the way of your creative spirit, and that you have to play on the tension between humility and ego. Thank you very much for listening to this teaser trailer. Episode 1 will be following shortly with guest number 1, and I'm really excited to start this project. Thanks for joining. Don't forget to do the like and the share and the subscribe and all that fun stuff in order to get more content from me if you like it. And if you do like what you see, don't forget to check out all my old stuff. I'm also on TikTok and YouTube. It's at Talking to Horses _ the podcast, just like my Instagram. Thank you very much. Cheers. We'll see you soon.